this is Gary from Night Dreams Talk Radio. I want to welcome a new sponsor to our show, PhoenixShaving.com. I know what you're thinking, right? Oh, another disposable razor company. Well, the fact is they're not. You remember the razors that your father and his father shaved with? Did you ever notice they didn't have, well, the embarrassing razor burn or ingrowing hairs or the razor bumps after they shaved? Did you notice they were also relaxed after they were done shaving? Well, the problem is these big corporations want to sell you razor after razor after razor. Think about how much money you spend a year on razors. Or do you use electric razor? Then you're going to find out what razor burn is. So you need to check out Phoenix Shaving Starter Kits. They come complete with the soap, the brush, and a 2.5-month supply of blades. And the most important part of it, an all-metal razor built to last generations. So, hey, you can donate it to one of your sons when they turn 18. Check out PhoenixShaving.com and tell them that Gary from Night Dream said, hey, I want one. That's PhoenixShaving.com now.
Our intro music is provided by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com.
You're listening to Night Dreams Radio with Gary Anderson.
Well, hi, everyone. This is Gary. I hope everybody's having a great day today and, well, staying out of trouble and all that stuff. Well, here it is Sunday already, and the week is gone. Well, from last week, we had some really great guests last week. Like we had Ron Fitzgerald, who is a famous actor in horror-type movies, and also he goes on stage and he does magic tricks, and he also writes, TV and movie scripts. Anyway, I hope everybody's had a good week, and I hope this week will be a great week. We got a great guest right now. He writes child's books, and his name is Kevin. I'm going to bring him on the show right now, if everything is right. So let's see. Kevin, are you there?
I am here.
Well, how's your evening going?
I'm doing good. I actually just finished my next rough draft of my next Totally Ninja Raccoon, and that's always a great feeling.
Oh, wow. Why don't you tell everybody, well, a little bit about the book or the series of books you've been writing?
Okay, well, I'm the creator of the Totally Ninja Raccoons. The Totally Ninja Raccoons are about 3 raccoon brothers who decide to become ninjas because they already have the mask.
Oh, that helps.
It's one of the underlying themes of the series is that you can choose to be what you want, and sometimes that we've all had people call us something that we weren't, or called it. And this is kind of a way to show that you get to choose what you want to be, and why not choose to be a ninja?
Yeah. How did the thought of writing the book come to you, and how did you pick the name and all that stuff?
It's well, I'm glad you asked. I actually got the idea from my first children's book. My first children's book is called Hobo Finds a Home, and it's the story of how my cat Hobo come to live with me, and why the story behind that is like my wife and I have a bookstore in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania called For My Shelf Books. And I always wanted to write a children's book. When we started this store, we just started with used books. And you don't see a lot of used children's books because a children's book, if it's well-loved, quite often there's not a lot of it left to sell. So once we started the store, we added a wholesaler. We started with just used books, and we got some children's books in. And that was a lot of fun because my wife and I both love children's books. And I had always wanted to write one. And there was an education series, and one of the classes was how to write children's books. So I took that, and I wrote about my children's cat, because I grew up with dogs, and big dogs, and I didn't grow up with cats. And so I wrote a story about how my cat come to live with me, and then it kind of grew out of that, because I have cats, and I love cats, but anybody who has cats, you kind of know that cats want to take over the world. And that's where the Ninja Raccoons came in, okay? Because cats want to take over the world, but they sleep a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, so they're always sleeping, so, they don't want to do their work themselves, so they want to find somebody to do the work for them, and and that would be the raccoons.
Oh, that's, yeah. And what year was this when you opened up your bookstore and then you started getting the urge to, write a child's book?
Well, we opened up the bookstore in 2006, and I wrote the children's book about a year after we had been open, because like running any small business takes a lot of time. There's a lot of work involved. So I took the classes at night, and I wrote the children's book, and then I looked for an agent, and I didn't have much luck, so I published it myself. And I got busy with life in the bookstore, and we started writing. Both me and my wife took turns writing a column for the paper called Cattails, writing about reading. It was a book review column. So that kind of took care of my urge to write. So I didn't really write, much other than that with running the bookstore and writing my column. That took up a lot of time. But, the newspaper changed editors, and the new editor didn't drop my column. So I needed, that urge to write was still there. So I was thinking about writing the raccoons. And then what happened is Nickelodeon was holding a contest. They were looking for a new animated children's series. And I had this idea for the raccoons for several years, kind of, on the back burner. And a friend of mine who is an artist, we had even come up with some concept art for the book. And I'm like, well, this is the time to do it. So I sat down and I wrote a scene, and I sent it off to Nickelodeon. And eventually they passed on it. But I had so much fun writing that first chapter. And one of the things I always say to people who want to write is, well, just write. And I started, and I'm like, I'm not going to finish. I'm going to finish it now. So I just kept going, and I wrote that first book, and I had ideas for other books, and I just kept going, and I kept looking for an agent. And I had an agent, actually a big agent, who was pretty interested in it, but he strung me along all summer. This was about 3 years ago, back in the summer of 2015, and I had read, when I was doing research at agents, they always want to know what else that you're doing. They don't want you to just be a one-hit wonder. They want to know if it's a series or if you have other books that you're writing. So I just kept writing. And the agent eventually passed on it. He thought it was too much like another book that that client of his had. So I just went ahead myself and published it. I used Ingram Spark, which is a subsidiary of Ingram, which is one of the biggest wholesalers of books. That's who we use as a wholesaler for the bookstore, and then it would be available to other bookstores. So I went ahead and I used Ingram Spark, and I just finished the draft of my 8th Ninja book tonight. So, there are cryptids, there's ninjas, there's cats. Like there's the cat board. Have you heard of the cat board?
No.
Well, the cat board is a super secret organization of cats who want to take over the world. So basically, the Ninja Raccoons is basically cats versus raccoons.
Okay. And this is getting interesting. Go ahead.
Okay. So I know I like when I mentioned before that the cats don't want to do the work themselves, so they hired the Ninja Raccoons to do that. So the first book, The Totally Ninja Raccoons Meet Bigfoot, contains the origin story of the raccoons. So they decide that they're going to be raccoons. They're going through their favorite restaurant, which if you're a raccoon, that's usually the trash cans behind somebody's house.
Yeah. Well.
So they're going through the garbage, and a guy comes out, and he's like, I told you to get out of my garbage, you stinking thieves. And they're like, we're not thieves. We have masks. We're going to be ninjas. So that's where they choose to be ninjas. But what do you do once you're a ninja? Well, you need a ninja job. So they enter an ad in the local paper that is put out by Gypsy, who is the head of the cat board. So she is looking for somebody to capture Bigfoot. See, Gypsy wants to capture Bigfoot to use his powers of stealth and her conquest for world domination. So the Ninja Raccoons set out on their first job to capture Bigfoot, and they I'm not going to give too many spoilers away, but they capture Bigfoot, and Gypsy ultimately turns on them, and they let Bigfoot go. So this kind of sets up the entire series of the cat board versus the ninja raccoons. The cat board is always trying to come up with a way to take care of the ninja raccoons, and the ninja raccoons have to save us.
Interesting. How big a book are these? Or that one, for example.
Well, that's about 4,000 words. They're basically about a short story like, but the reading age is 7 to 10. They're about 4,000 to 5,000 words. The first one's a little shorter, and they're averaging around 5,000 words right now. I wrote them specifically for what's called in the industry a reluctant reader. Now, a reluctant reader is just what it sounds like. It's a child that they're not necessarily can't read, but they don't enjoy reading, so they're not very anxious to do it. And what I did basically was I wrote a book that I would have wanted to read at that age. When I was that age, I loved cryptids, I loved ninjas, I loved animals, and of course I still love all those things, and I have a lot of fun writing these. And if you don't have fun writing a children's book, a child is not going to have fun reading it.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, I've had 8 children, and I mean, out of the 8, only 2 of them like reading. The other, 6, they had a hard enough time even when they were in school picking up the school book, But, that's what I think needed, in the last probably 10 years. A lot of the children books, I hate to say it, has not been the most positive books out there.
No, some of them are positive, and all of these are positive. I use the term ninjas, but they're not actually very violent. I use ninja kind of in the modern term. I use it more as a word for. Let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm a writer, and I'm looking for a word. It's more as teamwork. They're brothers. No, they're teamwork. They all have separate skills, but together they are. They're a team. Like Bandit, he's the oldest, he's the tallest, he loves to read. And there's Rascal, who's the shortest one, and he likes to invent things. He likes to play with gadgets. And then the middle one is Kevin, and there's a story about that, how I decided to name the middle one Kevin. So he's kind of
why did you call him?
We
got plenty of time.
Okay. Well, I named him Kevin because, as you know, every writer puts a little bit of himself into the story. And, I did that myself. But then what I decided to do is I decided to embrace that and call one of the characters Kevin. Especially because, like, the oldest one is Bandit. The youngest one is Rascal. So those are names that sound pretty typical of raccoons. So, one, I wanted to choose something that didn't sound like another raccoon name. And Kevin is also kind of the go-to name in a lot of animated features. Like, for example, Kevin is the name of the rare exotic bird in Up by Pixar. Kevin is also the name of one of the minions in DreamWorks in the Minions. And I just thought, well, I'm just going to go ahead and name one of the characters Kevin. And I did.
Okay. Sometimes, writers I find, write them for, with their childhood, friends or relatives, and they use those names. And
I do, one of the first rules of writing is to write what you know. So I do set my books in and around the Wellsboro and Tioga County, which is where I live. But I also use cats. We have cats at the bookstore. The main protagonist of the Ninja Raccoons is Gypsy. Gypsy happens to be the name of my